So when I'm at Bosco 98, I became introduced to this whole, Polynesian pop movement, exotica, and I already heard, Martin Denny and Les Baxter and stuff like that. But then I thought, I can do this, and I would like to try my hand at trying to make some exotica music. Why not? And so I just...
Namaste, beautiful souls. I'm Shilpa, and you're tuned into the Omni Mindfulness podcast, a sanctuary for spiritual entrepreneurs. As a holistic mindfulness coach and social marketing strategist, I'm here to guide you on a transformative journey. On this show, we explore captivating stories and provide practical tools that deepen your connection with your authentic self. Through the personal and professional narratives of remarkable individuals, we expand our consciousness and ignite the spark of possibility. Each season, I curate content that empowers you to create a holistic lifestyle encompassing spirituality, mindfulness, energy awareness, and mindset. Join me as we engage in conversations with experts in their respective fields and share solo casts from yours truly, all aimed at supporting you and relaxing, revitalizing, resetting your body, mind, and spirit. I'm your host and the visionary behind Omni Mindfulness. So what if just one story had the power to shift the trajectory of your life? What if you could become an instrument in helping others realize their true selves? And what if your soul's higher purpose lies in experiencing the joy of Omni Mindfulness? Remember, it's never too late to rewrite your story. Welcome to Season 7 as we embark on an exhilarating journey into energy awareness. In July, we explored the driving forces that fuel the lives of my guests, uncovering their passion and purpose. In August, we delve into the profound connection between somatic movement and vitality. And finally, in September, we explore holistic awareness, where mind, body, and spirit unite for transformative experiences. Stay tuned for insightful conversations, expert guests, and tools to cultivate conscious energy awareness. So let's dive into the season of energy awareness together. And up next is global musician and artist Truus de Groot. Truus's career started at the beginning of the punk rock era in 1976 in the Netherlands. She began as a vocalist and lyric writer. Her passion for experimental electronic instruments soon became evident. Over time, this passion led her to design her own instruments, which she continues to do to this very day. Truus's artistic journey has taken her on a long and diverse path around the world, where she has collaborated with individuals from various genres and cultures. Always seeking new challenges, she constantly explores exciting ways to express herself creatively through music, words, photography, and film. In today's interconnected cyberspace, there are no boundaries, and creativity knows no limits. Truus embraces the freedom to collaborate with anyone worldwide on a multimedia level, which has proven to be a fruitful and rewarding experience for her. Many of her recent projects have flourished through new level of collaboration, showcasing the power of creative synergy. And now, here's the incredible global musician and artist, who I call my friend, Truus. to have you there.
It's very nice to be here. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's an honor, and I'm genuinely excited to have this conversation on passion and purpose. So, Truus, maybe we could start off with you sharing a little bit about what you do now and then the journey that got you there.
Oh, that's a very long story, but I've been making music since about 1976. And actually before that, I was always, searching for some kind of a performance thing, but not really, never thought about taking it on a stage. And I just kept doing that in various forms. And, it's kind of an unstoppable feeling that you have within yourself that you have to, because I guess one consider it a gift maybe, or it's you can do it, like if you're a good bricklayer and you're proud of your job, then you have to follow that quest too, I guess. But anyway, so yeah, I'm still making music today, and that's it's ever evolving, and not just music, but I've always concentrated on photography or any kind of art form really. Nothing is taboo. Everything gets tackled, what it presents itself to me, and then I go for it,
Before I hit record, I was telling you that I find you so multifaceted, which is the coolest thing about you, is that it's not that I am a musician. You do photography as well. You do
Yeah, I do whatever presents itself to me. And I really, when I say that presents itself to me, it's kind of like this, I don't know if it's a muse or if it's something that clicks in my head that goes like, oh, yeah, why not do this? This looks interesting. And then it's more that within myself, I have to do it. And it's certainly not, it's nice to get feedback from people, but it's not the prime reason. It's just because there is a drive in me and that I have to do this. And with, back before the internet, shall I put it that way, you really had to push yourself and you have to be out there and you have to, really put yourself in a scene or be on a stage or something like that to be noticed. But now there's a whole different story. You can actually create a whole community, online with your Facebook or with your whatnot, So that makes it really different. The dynamics are different now. So that's exciting also for me. That's how my photography exhibit came about, by somebody who saw my photos on Facebook. And I never ever thought about it. I love my photos, but it's like somebody else sees the quality in it. They're not necessarily great pictures, but there's an atmosphere there, and there's something very special. I was just trying to really capture something, a feeling, and with an amateur eye and not technically perfect photographer. So it's an interesting thing how things are different now, and it really helps me to continue to do what I'm doing.
So I actually have two follow-up questions. One is in regards to photography work, which I think of as very soulful. I have seen a variety of your photography over the course of a few years. We'll get back to that in a moment. But in regards to the music as well, I want to know, see, we live in a generation where people feel they can only be validated as women if they have these labels given to them, like, oh, I have the certifications, or I'm an influencer. But the fact that your drive came from internal, tell me, were you trained formally, and how did you get that drive for the music first?
It's how can I put that? It's within me, it's really hard to say. Where do I get the drive? It's something I have. Like I can't stop it. That's the other thing. I can't stop it. So, and I honor what's in me. So if I hear something in my head, a melody or anything, I always, since everybody's carrying the phone right now, I hit that memo button right away, and I capture that few seconds of inspiration. And I do this all the time. So I constantly I consider it, this is something my brain is giving me or whatever it is. So I must honor it and I must capture it and I must work on that. So it's kind of like this drive, where does it come from? I think it's within me, within my brain, that I have to, it gives me a certain pleasure to do it. And then when I work with various collaborators in the world, also alone, but collaboration is cool because you get feedback. So when I present it to my collaborators, they're like, oh, wow, that's interesting. And we can work with this and let's make something with this. And then you get an encouragement back because they again take it and it goes very often a completely different direction, but the basic gist of the song is there. And so that's a really cool feeling for me, to be able to create something out of nothing, out of my brain, and then it gets further, expanded on, and that's super exciting for me. I don't know. Does that answer your question?
It does. It sounds like the drive or the passion really is the fact that you have this gift and you're responding or you're honoring who you are when it comes to you. And did you, when did it start? Like, you were living in Europe. I'd love people to understand that you actually started in Europe, and at what age? And did you actually go to school for this?
No, I never went to school. I was raised in a very low income, kind of impoverished for Dutch understandings. So my father was disabled. He had a muscular dystrophy, some form, and so we just lived pretty much, on whatever we could. He was also a watchmaker, but it was really, we had a tiny little home, and they were both from these older families, like a farmer's family, and my dad, huge family, but also very, very low income. So I was raised kind of poor, so to put it. And so to go to a music school, that was, preposterous to even think about, So I was always really good in whatever my grammar school and all that. I was always really enthusiastic about singing and about, I was super creative. And, but, it didn't really click in my head, that this is actually something you could do because, you have to get a real job. You have to try to be maybe a nurse or I don't know, whatever. So I trained to be some kind of a caretaking something. And I was like, oh my God, this is so awful. I could not possibly do that, but it was a given. This is what you're going to do. You have to find a real job. So at one point, I got involved with a bunch of people, and they were doing jam sessions at their bar. And so I had a friend, and he played Yoko Ono for me one day. And I was like, holy crap, what is that? And she was just amazing. I mean, to me, that crazy sound she made, it was just... mind-blowing. And then not that I necessarily wanted to be like her, but I could see that she was an artist and that she was not like musically gifted or anything, but she just used the music to convey her art, more or less, and not skillful in a kind of technical manner or anything. She just played with, her craft in a musical field. And I realized, well, this doesn't require me to be technically gifted or anything like that. It's more like I can do something like this. And I don't know how I got it in my head that I had to perform, but okay, so we decided that I was going to participate in a jam session, and then I realized immediately that I was a front person. I was really good being the focus of like a front person on a stage. Where does that come from? Who can say? But so I opened the show with a kind of an opera. I was singing an opera, and then I segued it into a Yoko Ono sound, like, and then, that was kind of like the beginning of where I realized, I don't have to be technically gifted or I don't have to read music it's more a matter of just doing it. And once you have your foot in the door, like doing it, then you become free, and you can just not be afraid of failure and stuff like that, and be open to learn. But the thing was, I never was really interested in musical notes, because I thought they kind of would stop me from my creativity. So if you look at musical notes, that means you have to follow them. But my brain was like, so I didn't have time in my head for the musical notes or patience. I was more like picking up an instrument or use my vocal or anything and start banging on stuff, and ideas will just pop into my head. So that happened. Then I realized then punk rock came, right? Punk rock came. And wow, you only had to really know one chord, and you could just slam on you. You had to have some rhythm. I grant you that.
It's just an eyes open. Don't lose concentration. If you succeed, you will be free. That's all you need.
So I did have good rhythm. And I realized, well, okay, 2 chords and you have a song, wow. And I just went for it. And that really gave me a great start, to have the confidence and just be out there and perform.
Now, which part of Europe were you originally from?
Eindhoven in the Netherlands.
And then when you started doing punk rock, from what I remember, you actually became well known.
Yeah, and it was okay. So it was pretty much, became very well known. Well, first of all, because of my punk rock activities, I was invited in this very this Dutch band that was started with some famous Dutch guys, and they were asked to do this one-time project, and I was like the punk rock character in there. And so we did this 2 to 3 month tour or something all through Holland, and it was just like, oh, okay, this is a life for me. I like this. And they that was just kind of a one-time thing. On one of our last shows, this other Dutch band, this Eindhoven band, saw me, Nasma, they were called. So yeah, but anyway, so that other band where I started with, they became like super famous. They became like this teeny bopper Dutch Beatles band. It's just ironic, but that was without the girls, because they were like cute looking boys. And so yeah, there's all these like weird trajectories. But anyway,
how old were you in that period?
Oh God, 17, 18, I don't know. Europe we played. So yeah. I said, we can't have a name that means something. We need to have a unique name. So I'll throw the A out. Okay, cool. But then almost like within maybe half year from starting with the band, I became restless because here we were, playing chords and it was songs with bridges and verses and choruses. And I was like, no, that's not me. I'm like too, I don't want that normal stuff. So then one night I went to see a performance by this amazing electronic player, Michel Wijsvies. He had invented something called a crackle synthesizer, which is this crazy instrument where it's a synthesizer, but you use your hands and you conduct the electricity through your body, and it creates sounds also on top of that. And I saw him and I was like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. So I started, after the show, I talked to him and he was like so friendly and nice, and we immediately hit it off. And then a few weeks later, he called me to come to Amsterdam and record a jingle with him for a TV station. And so I went out and so we really clicked. And then he said, oh, would you like one of the crackle synthesizers to take along? I said, oh, hello, yes. So I took that amazing instrument and I started playing that instrument in that band Nasmat, which is very unusual because it was a crazy noisemaker. And that immediately also broke the whole chords, the commonality about how the music is normally played. So I introduced all this noise. And then at the same time, I started my band plus instruments, because that's how restless I was. I was constantly making music with people, photography, making art. It was just thing that I did nonstop. Very super prolific, and I'm still like that.
Oh my gosh, I get chills because the word prolific absolutely describes you. Now, even that instrument, you're going to have to play it for me. Do you still have it?
Well, no, I don't have the instrument, but that's a museum piece right now. There are some YouTube videos of me playing it. But I have a new instrument that we had built. Bosco came up with the idea, like, hey, we should try to get this thing done by somebody else. And he found some kid in Florida that was an electronic guy who we thought, he could do just about anything. And so we came up with a design for the box, and Bosco's dad made the actual box, and we kind of designed it together, and so then now I had my own little. We went through many prototypes, of course, but I ended up with my own thing. But it is as cool as it is. It's not as cool as the actual instrument was. It's frustrating, but some things it can't be repeated. So you have to, be happy with what you can get.
I definitely will come back to that instrument, or at least try to get a little piece of it into your podcast.
Sure.
Now, you were in your teens, and now maybe walk me through this next 10 years where your music evolves. And at some point, I don't know when, you came to the States. What was the catalyst for that also?
Well, okay, so I was playing with Nasmat, and it was I started at late 78 or something, and going through all the motions with that band, just about played every single venue there was to play. And I was restless, and I've been transcribing my diaries because I wanted to write a memoir, and I thought, and so now I know a lot more. Actually, I can tell you a story. I always wrote about, being restless where I was. I said, I need some more stimulation. I can't be in this dead town. The town is nice now, but back then it was just nothing going on. Stores were closed at 6:00. everything was kind of, I always wrote, I have to go somewhere. Where should I wanted to go to London. I wanted to live in Berlin. I wanted to live in Paris. And so I kept thinking about all these places to go to. And then one night, it was in 1980. There was this American band playing in Eindhoven called Reese Chatham. And he played this really weird open chord, noise guitar stuff. It was kind of from the New York period. And I loved them. And they were also super friendly. And I befriended the drummer there. And then he was like, so offhandedly said to me, oh, you should come to New York. You're going to love it there. And well, within 3 months, I was in New York. Little did he know that I had an escape plan already, that I really wanted to leave there. And so we started communicating after we said our goodbyes. And I just wanted to make sure, are you sure you want me to come, and whatever. And yeah, so I went there just kind of like on a fluke. And, I didn't really think about what it meant to step on a plane and go to America and just kind of play by ear. I don't even know what kind of money I had. I don't think it was much, so it was really, that's how I operated then. I just did stuff and took risks and didn't really think about what could possibly happen, but everything. So it was an adventure. I'm a bit adventurous. Yeah.
Yeah, I miss that part of me, the girl that used to do things like that. But I love hearing and seeing the world through your lens from that age, because it reminds me of that spirit that some of us have and then you had. And it truly is something that I think other women need to hold on to, because we sometimes lose that spirit.
Yeah, it's, I've been going through phases, but okay, so after, spending like 11 years in New York City, I suddenly got it in my head, like, I'm a little tired of all this adventurous stuff. I'm tired of being a musician. I'm tired of, struggling all the time, because it's a struggle. You have to always try to find your shows to make money. And although I had a good part-time job, but so I set it in my mind, okay, I'm going to leave New York City and I'm going to move to Seattle. I picked very in the end, like where I ended up. And I'm going to find a real job, and I'm going to see if I can be like normal. I'm going to see if I can have a normal job, buy a house, and I was married to at that time. And no, I never really wanted to settle down or anything. But anyway, I went there and I got a really good job and was able to buy a house and all that stuff. So, and then it was like, well, all right. Is that all there is? It just lacked a certain, adventure. So, and all through this period, I kept making music, but just in my studio. And, the missing the stage was really gnawing at me, It was just a terrible thing, because you really miss that, excitement. And so that was I set out my objective and I completed it, but then it was kind of like, maybe not, maybe this is not the greatest thing in the world. But coming out of New York City, you're kind of, how do you put it, damaged, because it's so hard to live there. And so then you think, well, I need to see how it can be different, but maybe I like that kind of pressure that New York was giving me. But yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to think about it, and everything. And if you want to make it, you still have to kind of follow some kind of directions of what people, how they see you, how they want you to move, or how they want you to act. And I'm just not like that, I'm very, what do you call it? Have my own ways of how I want things to be done, how do you call that?
Well, maybe like an independent thinker, or
yeah, that's a nice way to put it, or maybe stubborn.
Well, no, I mean, one of the things I love about being in my own, having my own company is the fact that I define my own schedule and my own approach, as opposed to being in the corporate world or jobs.
Yes.
It sounds like a few times you did have other jobs, the part-time jobs.
Yeah, no, I had some interesting jobs, and they were like, I mean, that I was just reading in one of my diaries. I had this one job in New York City at a Japanese restaurant where I was the only non-Japanese. So they gave me a couple of interesting things. First of all, I became the expert of everything that was American. I was Dutch, new immigrants, but still, my English was better. And it also gave me this ability to isolate my thoughts because everybody was speaking Japanese. So I could, it all became gibberish around my head, and I could isolate my thoughts, and I could still come up with all these artistic things in my head, and I would write them down. So that was an, it was also kind of like this really little Zen haven in the middle of New York. It was 2 blocks from World Trade Center. It had like a tiny little Zen garden in the front, and they always had the koto music playing. This really peaceful atmosphere, running water, and had a little fish pond inside. So I had this little haven in this really mad city. And that was my job for I worked there from 10 to 5 or something, every day when I was working there. And I did the flower arrangements. So it was a really kind of a peaceful place amidst the mayhem, which I think allowed me to, survive there.
And then the music that you've been referring to in the band, for as long as I've known you, you've continued producing music. We even played your music, one of your pieces. I love that one at our wedding.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it was influenced a lot by, I feel like, Exotica.
Yeah, I did. So when I'm at Bosco 98, I became introduced to this whole Polynesian pop movement, Exotica, and I already heard, Martin Denny and Les Baxter and stuff like that. But then I thought, I can do this, and I would like to try my hand at trying to make some Exotica music. Why not? And so I just. remember the first one was Exotica, and that the first was still on a cassette. That was before CDs really became the thing. That was my first release, and then it came out on CD, and then I did Rancho Exotica, and then I did Ritualis. So there's 3 Exotica albums that I did. And you know, it's still out there, available, and still selling. So it's a nice little trilogy of that genre. But unlike any of the other Exotica out there, because I use funky noises and synthesizers, and not your run-of-the-mill kind of ukulele based.
You just embraced it, and you also embraced the tiki culture.
Yeah, I did, because it was fun. It was a really kind of a discovery thing because we were unearthing a lot of the things from the past that were lost, and so it was just kind of a discovery thing, where and then you have your own take on it. So yeah, it was very fun. Now it's somewhere else, completely different, where it's massive and it's just, it's now embedded in any kind of pop culture thing, So, but back then there were still so many things to discover, So I like that kind of stuff, where you get to, I don't know, how do you say that? I don't know. It's exciting. You learn new things. Yeah.
Now, did you discover Bosco first or Cheeky first?
Well, I was a real good thrifter, and in Seattle had amazing thrift stores back then, and that's why I was from there too. A little north of Seattle. So I had already accumulated some Whitkos, and which is like in that whole tiki thing. And I also, picked tiki mugs. So I knew about tiki, and then of course, Beach Bum Berry I knew before I knew Bosco, because Beach Bum Berry, Jeff Berry, is married to Anine, my friend from New York. So it all goes way back, really. So Jeffy had written a cocktail book on tiki cocktails, which I got the first version, I think in 1994 or something. I'm not sure, but anyway, so he was totally into it already. So that's how I learned, of Bosco's existence, through them.
What a small world.
Yeah, it is a very small world, because how these things just kind of like overlap.
Maybe you can even share, for those who don't know who Bosco is, maybe like the one minute synopsis of his fascinating work.
The revival of the tiki art, and that's what he grew up with, and that's what he was like missing, and he dug around deep, but I mean he's basically the first one that actually did a tiki sculpture. We like to call it Polynesian pop. So he was the first one that started making mugs again, and making tiki poles again, etc., etc. So he really is kind of like the starter of the whole scene of tiki artists, so to speak.
It's more underground. Initially, when I first got introduced to it, felt like more underground, but it's become explosive before we hit record. Yeah, it's mainstream. It's mainstream now. So, but still, the way Bosco makes the tikis is unlike any of the other artists. So he still has this unique take on it, and I think that's special to me, because to be influenced by what people want to perceive it. No, you're just going to put it out there, like just as as a true artist. I would say that Bosco is more inspired by Picasso than he is inspired by a tiki carver from Polynesia, So he's inspired the way Gauguin was inspired by, his trips to Tahiti and all that stuff like that. So there he differs, and he differs also. The way his execution can be quite abstract, which can confuse a lot of people also. But he's staying true to that, and that's I think that's commendable. Well, and you stayed true to that, what you called like just in your inner passion, that you just knew you had to produce music, and both of you align on that principle that you're staying true to. One of the things I recall is before we hit record, you said you were just finishing up some carvings. Maybe you can share that you now actually support the artwork, but also you become, I would say, skilled in the craft.
Yeah, I was finishing up ceramics, and so I work in the ceramics, and I don't know, I love it and I hate it, because ceramics, they have a mind of their own, and so I was just what I was talking about was that I was finishing a production that had massively cracked in the 2 previous kiln loads, and that was a really frustrating thing because that's what happens with ceramics. Stuff happens and you don't know why, and there's so many things why it would happen. So I fixed it and I finished it almost, and so yeah, I like to do that kind of stuff, and it's also our means of income, so it's important that I do stuff like that. But yeah, so and all levels I'm involved, so yeah.
Now, a few years back, when I started becoming more familiar with your photography, you had done I want to say, I don't know if the right terminology is, but an entire series or piece on the Salton Seas.
Yeah,
correct?
Salton Sea, yeah.
Yeah, maybe you could share a little bit, because I found that just incredible.
Yeah, we started going to the Salton Sea as soon as we hooked up, which was in '98, and in '98 Salton Sea was still there was just like all these remnants from the golden days, so to speak. Salton Sea used to be called the Salton Riviera. It's this body of water that was created by accident through a burst dike or something in the Colorado River, and it filled from this, this lake bed up in the middle of the desert. And so you had this like beautiful lake in the middle of the desert. It's about, I don't know, an hour drive from Palm Springs or something. So it became like this really amazing tourist place. And the Rat Pack would hang out there. So it was just, a great place to go to. But the lake didn't really, the sea or the lake, it didn't really have the water didn't come naturally. There was no water added. It had no source of water coming into it. So over the years, it's just dehydrating because it's a desert. And basically, it's just slowly dying. It becomes too salty, and there's agricultural, stuff going in there too. So so this happened all very slowly over many, many years. So it had its heyday in the 50s and the 60s, and then the decline came. So all these like fantastic, hopeful, beautiful motels and hotels, they just kind of fell apart. And that's when we came up on it, and it was like, what happened here? We just wanted to know what happened here. There's all this remnants from the past, and we were both like really into urban archaeology. That's what we call it. So where you just go find this stuff, that once was, and it's just the beauty of the decay was also, something that attracted both of us. So Bosco started making a lot of photos there. And so we go on these photo expeditions and trying to capture everything there. A little did we know that it will actually all the things we took photos of, they would just disappear. And then another cycle of neglect happened when there was the housing boom. And then as soon as they rebuilt all these like houses there, which in my eyes, it was unlivable there, but they rebuilt all these new houses there, and then the housing market collapsed again, and then they became again abandoned, and it just, the cycle just repeated itself there. But anyway, in the meantime, we had all these really cool pictures, and then we got a residency in Amsterdam to create music with it, and that's what we did. So we created an album called Salt and Sink, and Bosco did all the photography with it, and he did art with it and stuff like that, and that was a really fun project and very unusual music that was completely inspired by that area.
Now, so you had the music that accommodated the photography, which
Yeah.
really puts you in this moment, right? Because it probably builds the atmosphere to connect with what's going on in the photography.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because so I mean, we just projected the photography huge in the studio. So I would, and because we have been there, and we have had many expeditions out there, hundreds. I knew what it smelled like, felt like, and yeah. So that's where how the music was inspired, and I still think it's a really great timeless project. But sadly, we never could really get a good exhibit with it. So hopefully one day somebody will be into that. And I did do live performances with it in Europe, where I would just do the big slideshow, and then I would pretty much improvise the music with it, with a setup of electronic instruments. And that was super fun. And that still up for that,
That is incredible. Again, I might even include that in the YouTube version of our podcast, because if I can get some of the pieces of the music and scenes, that would be incredible. Again, you're so prolific, so interesting. And then now going back to the photography, fast forward, you were just back in Europe.
Right.
And I know you mentioned in the beginning, but now that people have listened to your history and your journey, maybe you can share a bit about what is now going on with the music and the photography. I hear you're going to Brazil.
Yes, I'm going to Brazil. I'm going to be playing with Blue Beast. That's a project I have with Miguel Barella, who's a very gifted musician, and we have a really great collaboration going.
Things get done with a little bit of work, with a little bit of work. Unless I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, that things get done with a little bit of work, with a little bit of work. Then send me home to contemplate with a little bit of work.
We're on our third album now, and 3 albums and 1 EP, and so we do everything remotely, and we just have a ton of songs. And then aside from that, I have another really great collaboration going on with Cosmo Vitelli, who is a French man, and again, an amazing collaborator. It's just so amazing how things can just click on a very different way than Blue Beast, but we're just coming up with some. Really amazing stuff, and we already did an album called Medhead, which was released last year, and now we're working on a brand new album, which is much more both of our ideas, music, and it's just a very well, what do you call it? It really furthers, it opens so many windows for me of what's possible in my music, and I actually with both of those guys. I'm very lucky they found me, and I found them. So that's all I can say. It makes it all much more interesting, and it grows, and you still discover more stuff, which is mind-boggling to me.
But speaking of mind-boggling, just the fact that you can now co-produce, co-collaborate remotely. That's just like it's an artist's dream.
It is an artist's dream, because you pretty much cut out a lot of the
like interpersonal things, that get on each other's nerves, if you have to be with each other and, I don't know how you put it, people, I'm sure people get on each other's nerves pretty quickly, but you can actually do it with just one person. That's amazing to me. You don't have to have a whole band, because let's say if you have a band, then you have 4 people you have to deal with, and everybody has their own little things, and that's one of the most difficult things is personalities in a band, is to deal with that. How people have different timing, different speeds at how they operate or how they think or what they do, and so. And in this respect, it's a dream, to be able to do it with one person, and you can handle all of the instruments pretty much together.
I can't wait for the audience to listen to little short sound bites of that as well. And again, one in Brazil, is the other collaborator.
He's in Berlin.
Oh, Berlin. Okay.
Yeah. So we're all over the place.
Wonderful. Well, and soon you'll be off to Brazil. I can't wait to see images and hear about stories.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's one of my favorite places to go to. The most wonderful people there, and and I get to work with some really very talented musicians there. So that's really super exciting for me.
It is. And just going back to being prolific, that's just, you're adding to this lovely portfolio.
Yes. It's I'm lucky. I'm a lucky girl.
You are.
Okay, well, so the photography was from a series of photos I took in the mid 80s in New York City, which I suppose, I have my own style. I would just be a kind of like an observer, and I would take photos for whatever situations. I was not like the posing type of person where, let's pose with, you pose in front of that, you pose in front of that. No, it was more like I just photographed things as they were. And so that, so that was kind of like what the exhibit was about, just a feeling of how New York City, which was just really run down then, and that feeling that, what was there. I conveyed it like the grit of New York, So then with that, I started digging around all of my stuff, and then I found also, I wrote I did a lot of music too, of course, then. But I also wrote this anti-tourist guide to New York City, which is hilarious because I was just so stressed being there, and so I always like to, turn stress into whatever situation into art. So I wrote this anti-tourist guide, and then I did like these hate songs in about New York, which it's just silly stuff, but it was just all to deal with being there, and the crime level was higher than ever there at that time when I was there. So that's the next publication. So we published a book with the photos called based on the exhibit. And then the next publication will be in this May, where we're going to publish the Anti-Tourist Guide of New York, which really it's a time capsule of that time. Because what I'm talking about, I mean, most of the stuff is gone, but I'm just taking stuff one by one, as in a regular tourist guide, how to get around and what not to do, and I'm being very snide and sarcastic through the whole thing. It's just actually it's like comedy almost. So that's going to be fun, and then I decided I dug up 4 of my kind of like hate songs to go along with it and I'm going to put it on a cassette. So it's going to be like all lo-fi 80s kind of feel to it. Like the cover I did I remember I was one of the first ones. I had like a Atari ST or something like that, and a dot matrix cover. So you want to go to New York. That's my title of the book. So you want to go to New York? I was just trying to be funny then. So yeah, we're gonna publish that with the cassette in May. And then it's funny to go back to that music. Yeah, that just the pressure you felt, you know, it comes out there. But really, it was really more like a release valve in a way to handle it all.
Well, I like the fact that you talk about stress and then taking that energy, because in the end, it's really some form of energy, and taking it and putting it into your creative life force, creating the music that goes with the photography, that goes with the guide.
Yeah.
I can't wait to read it.
Oh, it's crazy. And you know what? I didn't even notice it, but that's the great thing about having a really great curator. And the girl I worked with, so yeah, we're going to publish that with the cassettes in May. The woman I work with, Leonore Faber-Jonker, she really saw, she had a vision of, you know, what this all meant, you know, and she could see the humor in it and the irony and the beauty also of it all. So it was her idea, you know, because I was just digging up stuff. Oh, by the way, I wrote a tourist guide, and she goes like, what? And I sent it to her, and she was like, oh my God, this is crazy. You know, we have to include it into the exhibit. So we just kind of hung it on the wall for people to read it, you know. And everybody was just like, you know, glued to it. They thought it was fantastic. So like, oh, we have to publish it. But yeah, it's a really a great thing to have another person that can curate you, that can, because it's really hard to decide that yourself. So a good curator or good collaborators, for me, they're really important because they can actually figure out how to present it, you know, to the world. So you cannot be too within yourself, you know, to when you put stuff out. You have to get other opinions, I think, always, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And finding collaboration in that creative space, I think it's not always accessible or available. When the book is available, I definitely will read it, and then maybe I can include it in the show notes so people can go find it. Will it be on Amazon?
Probably not. I think these are all that's a whole nother scene, the way these books are. It's not necessarily do it yourself, but there's a whole movement in Europe that's called zines, not like the zines that we knew from the 90s or stuff like that, but zines are more, they use a very particular type of printing. Much care is dedicated to what type of printing, what type of stock. It's really, it's kind of like you have like this little art documents in a book. What, you know, it's really, it's hard to explain. I don't know if you saw my book or not, but yeah, so it's a scene, how it's presented and the type of paper, the type of printing, even the type of characters, how it's laid out. I didn't even know anything about that scene, but so that's where it goes. And they have like these huge conventions with this. It's a thing, just like the tiki thing. It's this zine thing. It's a culture now there in Europe. And I didn't know anything about it. I've seen some of that in Los Angeles, and I was wondering about like, oh, here's just like people putting stuff together themselves, you know, but it's a thing.
Yeah. Well, now
it won't be on Amazon.
No. Well, I definitely will want to look at it at some point. So you've got the music, you've got the day-to-day, I would say, ceramic works as well, and you've got your photography. What other things have people not heard about that you enjoy?
Well, I like to make videos a lot, so I do make a lot of videos of my own music, but I also make videos for certain people. And music videos, and I did also in my exhibit. There were two Super 8 movies that I did. One was from the late 70s, one from the mid 80s, and then I did a third film from my visit last year, which is digital. But so I've been involved in film too. So that's what I also do. And so that one film that we showed for my exhibit was called Gallivanting. And I just published the soundtrack for that, but not the film yet because we're still trying to get screenings in Europe.
Yeah, how long are these films?
Short films, like 15, 16 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. So they convey an atmosphere. So the older films were shot in Super 8, and I had them digitized so I could re-edit them. And then what I did for this film, for the exhibit, was I found all this old music I had from the 80s. I went through all my 80s tapes and 70s tapes, and I put them on digital, and then I started editing them to fit the visuals. So there's a lot of work, but it really it hit a note because it matches, it fits how I made music back then, and then what I was feeling then it conveys in picture and sound. It's just really interesting.
I can't wait to see it now.
Yeah, I can send you a link. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have it on YouTube?
Yeah, it's a secret link, so I'm not like, I don't want to publish it yet until we get some screenings.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
that'd be
When you're ready, I'll put it on my YouTube so people can go see it when you're ready. But I definitely want to see it. It sounds incredible. I love the fact that you are so connected with your senses, like visually and auditory. You just are able to bring, I would say, a story together.
Yeah. I'm constantly, like I said, I have almost no choice because it keeps me engaged with everything around me. And I feel if you don't listen to that, if you don't do it, then you're kind of like not, well, I don't know, you're missing something, I think you really need to listen to that, what's inside of you, and try to execute what can be executed artistically.
Yeah. You personify passion and purpose, because
maybe
you do. That's why I selected you for this category, is that no one had to tell you go find your passion or go find your purpose. Your passion almost became your purpose.
Yeah, which it's not always easy, for the other partner, but hey, it's just how I'm put together, and I can't stop it. It just really is. I don't know. I don't want to. I'm not necessarily believing in God or anything like that, but there's a gift, and most everybody is born with a gift, I suppose, to have a certain path, and I strongly believe that this is my gift and my path for whatever reason, and you must honor it. Simple as that. I don't know how else to put it, but and you have to work hard to make it happen. That's the other thing. So you can't be lazy about it, but I like to keep busy. So yeah, I don't know. How can I put it otherwise, that.
Well, and I believe that you've also aligned with someone, I'm meaning Bosco, who also has a lot of passion for his work. So it sounds like both of you can at least understand that drive.
Yeah, but it's very different, I mean, so I don't think necessarily, like, if you have two artists together, that they understand their each other's modus operandi of how you work. It's very different for both of us. So It's not a given. Really, it is. It's a very kind of a solo thing in your mind, to as an artist, and of all of my artist friends, also everybody has a different way of working, and yeah, it's really hard. I have people. I have friends that are artists. That they make great art, but they work best with a lot of people around them, And then I have people, they have absolute silence, or they work only in the middle of the night, or so everybody has their thing, So it's like with everything else, there's a great variety of how people function best with their, how they make their art. It's interesting. But it's a very individual thing, I think. So it's not necessarily that if you live with an artist that he's going to understand your way of working.
Yeah, that's a good perspective that I hadn't really captured before, but I certainly can see that, like you were saying, people operate in different ways. Now, bringing this back full circle, there's a new generation of women who are seeking to, I would say, march to the beat of their own drum, for lack of a better expression. What I would say soulful tip would you give them that how to live their passion and purpose in a world where sometimes you're put in a box and put a label?
Yeah, I think that well, first of all, you have to always work hard, and always not try to stay out of that box as much as you can. You don't belong in a box. You have to screw the box, pretty much, unless you want to be in a box. But I don't think anything good can come out of a box, because that means a box can be closed, and that's not a good thing. I think you just gotta really listen to what's inside of you, what your intuition and what your gut tells you to do, and do that, because that's the only thing you can do. Don't look at what other people do and how you should be doing it. The thing is that it's all within you. You should, and it comes out. Of course, you can be influenced by other people or other styles or other artists. That's a whole nother matter, but it's important that you listen to that inner voice that tells you, oh, maybe this is cool. And then just try things, and you're going to find a way, you just gotta, and it's going to be stumble and fall. And that's okay, because that's how you learn. I don't know. Yeah, don't be too hard on yourself.
Well, in a world where we live, where at least in the US, it's like, what degree do you have? What certification? Well, how do you justify knowing what you know? And what I love about a lot of my artist friends, including yourself, is that you listened to that intuition and you said, screw the chords. I don't need to go by the music. I can hear the music in my head. I will play it. And you also had that inner confidence to pursue it. Like you said, it takes hard work, though.
Yeah, it is hard work, and you also have to be, you have to be ready to be turned down a lot, or be turned down all the time, for that matter. So you have to be kind of confident in your what you put out. That if you like it, and then it's probably okay. I mean, I put stuff on Facebook very often that I think is fantastic, and I get like 2 likes or something, and then I go like, well, too bad they don't get it. I don't care. It's just you shouldn't. You have to have a certain level of confidence. Of to move forward and to keep doing it, because if you're stopped by any kind of criticism, you have to listen to the criticism and see if it makes sense, but very often criticism is kind of like not really criticism about the art. It's often a technical issue, or it's or it has no merit, so that's the thing. You have to you have to have some kind of a self-confidence about it, but yeah, always listen to criticism, but don't let it steer your path, don't let it determine your path, because you have a path, I think. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that confidence and trusting that intuition is so critical. And obviously, I wish I had heard some of that 30 years ago.
Well, yeah, and it's important, and it's a strange thing, because you think like, well, this intuition thing, what do I know? But it's not about what you know. It's something that I think, I'm convinced, it's like what your brain knows, it's signaling your body, but not necessarily your conscious body, where you can hear this voice going like, there's danger. No, that it sends a message to your stomach instead. And then you have to interpret it. What does that mean? Why am I feeling like this? So it takes a while to understand that feeling, that intuition. It's not a given that you understand it. It's your brain is capable of a lot of things. It's just not verbal like you want it to be,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why intuition and gut feeling is so important.
Yeah. Well, any parting words in terms of what you'd like to share about upcoming projects and where people can find you? I'll put some of the notes.
Parting words. Well, yeah, you can tell on my website and websites. Parting words is just make the best of everything, make the best of your life, and if you have a desire, try to make it happen, because you can do anything you want. Don't let other people stop you. You just need to honor whatever was given to you, like whatever talent was given to you. And what do you got to lose? That's the thing. You have nothing to lose. You can only learn from these things. And don't be afraid to take risks, because criticism on your work or anything, that's just their opinion. Just like the dude said in The Big Lebowski, that's just your opinion, dude. That's what you think, but it's true. It's just another person saying something, and their motives could be for all different reasons. So don't let that influence you too much. You gotta have a clear view of where you're going, and just do it.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Truus. I can't wait for this podcast to come out and include all the various imagery, music, and links in the YouTube version, but also perhaps even weave it into the audio version. Thank you so much.
Okay, that's really a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you, and I hope to have
great
you back.
talking.
Oh, it was an honor. Thank you so much, Truus.
All right, have a good one.
Thanks for tuning in, sweet soul. If you've enjoyed this episode, I would be so grateful for your kind review on Apple Podcast. Simply click on the link in the show notes to leave your lovely feedback and uplift our spirits. Your support means the world to me and helps our show thrive. So please show me your love and continue to practice Omni Mindfulness.